Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And if we thought that Joe's Secret and Infinity Ward had had enough of messing around with the competitive scene, we certainly thought wrong. The update last night bringing Warzone 2 in has arguably ruined multiplayer from many different perspectives. The pros are especially not happy with the fact that the footsteps now seem to be even louder than they were before. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into. So Warzone 2 is out. Proximity chat is the thing, which honestly, this is pretty cool. There's already been some hilarious clips as a result of this, like this one from Zuma. It was pretty good. He came across this guy and they had a bit of a back and forth. But yeah, I don't know. Warzone is an interesting one. It's basically the same as it was, but with many different tweaks that some people like, some people don't like. The gulags changed the AI bots that are now roaming around the map for some reason. It's a bit of a mess. The game plays differently. I think you can like sprint and put on the armor plates at the same time, which is, you know, maybe not also the best thing. So there's been some controversy around this. Some people say it's got potential, some people don't like it. The proximity chat is kind of fun. But the issue is, when they put Warzone 2 into the game, they, well, seemingly changed some things for Warzone to make Warzone play better that have also been copied over to multiplayer and definitely make multiplayer play worse. We'll see that in a second. Firstly, on the CDL launch pack skins, we saw this, that they were, well, we looked at them yesterday. These are the three that we've had so far. These were the Cold War ones. Still probably the best, to be honest. This is a pretty good shot. The Vanguard ones were absolutely atrocious. I mean, these ones are like by far the worst we've seen so far. And then this is this year's ones. And I think there's even other angles to make these look slightly better than they are. So, I don't know. I'd say that Cold War, Modern Warfare 2, pretty similar kind of pecking order. And then Vanguard is way behind. And, you know, just to mention, because we saw yesterday, right, the actual CDL skins. This, for example, the Subliners one. But Matt Lucero from the Subliners actually says this is not accurate. And it's kind of strange because as Prunjal Sake, like, hang on, mate, this is actually in the game. You can look in the game and find this for yourself. Like, it's not inaccurate, right? These skins will be released. What he's saying though is this is not an accurate design reflection of what will be in the next CDL season. So I don't exactly know what this means, whether he's referring to like what their actual jerseys will look like when they walk on stage, or whether he's talking about the fact that, you know, as time progresses here, when these team packs are released, they're going to look different, because I don't think these team packs are out yet. I think they were meant to be, possibly, but then it's been confirmed that actually only the CDL pack is out for now, and those team packs actually aren't there yet. And Matt Lucero is then saying, well, actually, they're going to be different, it's certainly in real life, to what they are in the game, but also potentially in the game themselves, because we've heard rumors that the teams get to design their own ones now, and probably they didn't design those. Maybe they did, I don't know. This I thought was also pretty funny to mention, just because Benjay Naseem is like a major hater of the It's Official contract signing gif, right? You know what the pros sign, or what the pros do every single time anything ever happens. They'll always do this like contract signing gif they'll tweet out. And yeah, some aren't the biggest fan of it, and they've actually made this into the game now as like a sticker here, which I thought was pretty funny, to be honest. And even as Daniel Sai clarifies, so it's just for now the CDL League pack that's in the game. The other ones are following on shortly. It says you'll be able to get them before the first major, so that's probably not enough time before the first majors in December, of course, to actually figure out and change them if Matt Lucero reckons they will be different. So maybe next year there's going to be a different story. Or he's more just referring to as to what their IRL jerseys are actually going to be looking like. And yeah, here we go. So they got the nice video out of it. So pretty cool stuff. Honestly, like, hey, look, Infinity Ward, they haven't done a great job here, but I guess you've got to be thankful to a certain degree when they actually do something decent. And this is by far, I think, the earliest we've ever actually had these type of things in the game. Usually it takes ages. And as Daniel Sai says, it may not seem like much, but having these packs sold on day one of season one is amazing for us, and thankful to Infinity Ward for making it happen. So I guess that is a good thing. There's some other things that aren't so good, such as this from Treyarch. Now, I don't really want to blame Treyarch for this necessarily. It may not be Treyarch's fault. I wouldn't be surprised if Treyarch have done their job here by getting the CDL Moshpit ready to go, but something on the Infinity Ward side hasn't been done perfectly well. Maybe I'm just biased in Treyarch's favour. But as they say, CDL Moshpit was initially expected to release today as the start of Season 1, but recently we discovered issues with the mode that will require a slight delay. Addressing these issues is our top priority. Get a new timing out ASAP. So it's meant to release yesterday, hasn't done yet, no CDL Moshpit is around. And this is maybe one of the complicating factors with the fact that Infinity Wards just don't do anything competitive related, so Treyarch have to do it for them. Is like, well, Treyarch have got to make this and put it into Infinity Ward's game, and that might not always be such a smooth process, right? Especially because two different developers working on the same game, it might be a bit of a mess, I don't know. But there's a decent chance here that the CDL Moshpit is kind of good to go, but there was some issue with the integration or whatever that's caused it to be delayed. So unfortunate, it's not ranked play anyway. Hopefully ranked play doesn't get delayed in the same way, but are we really surprised that something CDL related is getting delayed here in Call of Duty? efficiency, not particularly, to be perfectly honest. Now, let's talk about some of the changes with the update. We saw some of them yesterday. The slide cancel might be back. We'll see another example of that here in a second. And also the M4 getting buffed or potential visual recall getting reduced. We now have some patch notes for this, and this is one example. The spawns are clearly now worse than they used to be. Exotic says quite clearly here, spawns in this game are wild now. Now, Infinity Ward have stated they're aware of this issue and are currently testing a fix. Kind of funny, really, because I think a lot of people were hoping the spawns might get an update, right? A patch update, like basically improve the spawns, because the spawns on certain maps, Embassy and others, aren't particularly good. But instead of doing that, they actually made the spawns worse and are now going to try and fix them back to what they were normally. So they've been made aware of an issue affecting the spawns and they're trying to take them back to what they were before the patch. But look, before the patch they weren't particularly good, right? So, you know, it's just crazy stuff, the fact that like even they try and improve things and it makes the game worse. And this is seen across like a lot of different things in multiplayer. It's maybe not a massive surprise that with the Warzone 2 integration arriving, there were going to be some hitches with multiplayer, but just the way that it's turned out, it's like Infinity Ward just see multiplayer was like the gun leveling up simulator. Like, I just think there's no other way they actually see this right now. So these are some changes. They actually have, in fairness, made some tweaks and adjustments to some of the weapons. So let's look at a couple of them. Assault rifles increased a long distance flinch on all ARs. So I don't know, I guess that makes them slightly worse. The Custov 545 has been increasing the ADS speed and improved the iron sight. The Custov 74U, clearly the strongest weapon, the first gun to get GA'd in this game, has had an ADS speed decrease and a hip spread increase, which basically makes it worse, I guess, but I don't think it makes it significantly worse. The STB is quite interesting just because this is the AUG that got GA'd a couple of weeks really into the game. This has a close range damage reduction and a reduced sprint to fire speed. So they've also made that weapon slightly worse. Is that enough to get it un-GA'd? I don't think so, but maybe, who knows? And also just commenting on the SMGs, the Hurricane has been buffed, but the Miniback has been significantly nerfed. So those are some changes there, and also the PDSW, there's some significant changes, but I'm not really sure how much this gets used regardless. So these are some of the things that are going on. They also increased the flinch on all handguns, and the M16 was buffed as well. These are the M16 buffs here, rate of fire increase, hip spread reduction, all of this type of stuff. So I know we saw Eggs and others say, you know what, the M16 would be good to bring it back, because in previous games, a 3-round burst weapon has always been a fun AR and often is a good one, or even a 4-round burst, as in the case of the M8. But yeah, the M16 was just terrible in this game, so they've buffed it quite significantly. Now, the other thing you may have noticed there is that the M4 has had only one change, but it's a buff. I don't understand what Infinity Ward's kind of obsession is with making the M4 the best AR in every single game that they produce, but it has been the case in 2019 as well. Hip spread reduction. So the M4, despite right now being the dominant force AR, has been made even better by the devs. Marginally, but the hip spread reduction, or the hip fire spread, was like a key problem that the pros had. Even we saw Rambo just yesterday was complaining about the hip fire spread already being too good on it, and they've made it even better. So I'm like, what are they thinking here, to be honest? So this might be the final nail in the coffin for the M4 to get GA'd by the pros. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. Now, this is on the footsteps. Exclusive Ace, man. I feel bad for Exclusive Ace. This guy, I can't imagine doing what he does. But yeah, I feel like I have wall hacks for anyone within about 15 meters of me, regardless of what's between me and the enemy. It was pretty loud before, no mention in the patch notes. Now, it turns out there was a small mention here in the patch notes, and as he says, I should just stayed in bed today. The game's just broken, because it's not just the footsteps, but actually the game. Like, people can't get into private matches and stuff like this as well. So this is what they say on the footstep audio. Improved footstep audio. The audio team has made significant improvements to the audio system to address this key area. No idea what they're thinking here. Maybe the plan might be, and maybe it's reasonable in a sense, okay, Warzone's coming out. You want to increase, the footstep audio in Warzone to make it a marginally wider area, because Warzone maps are massive, so maybe that makes sense to do that. The thing is, if you adjust that the same way for multiplayer, it then becomes borderline unplayable. You can hear everyone everywhere. And I think we actually saw, compared to the beta into the real game, the footstep range got decreased slightly. If you were further than like 10 meters away from someone, you weren't really hearing them that well. And I think this is applied the same thing to the dead silence noise, right? When you activate dead silence, it makes that beeping noise. You can now hear that from like across the map. It's actually kind of absurd, some of the discussions I've seen on this. So yeah, they reckon they've improved the audio, and maybe they have from a Warzone perspective, but from a public match and kind of multiplayer perspective, it's now made things absolutely atrocious, it seems. So yeah, the footsteps were bad enough already, and the dead silence necessity and search and destroy was bad enough already, and now it's got even worse. So I have no idea what this is going to mean for how the game is going to play, because look, it's going to affect Surge, but it's also probably going to affect Respawn if it stays the same here, because look, if you're just running around and get heard everywhere, you don't really want that to be a factor in Respawn, but it probably will be now. And even as Bean says, footsteps louder, M4 buff, lobby's not working properly. This is, you know, the classic in-betweeners clip where he's like, you can if you like, but I won't be there. And this is Parasite's perspective on it. He reckons that footsteps are loud louder in multiplayer than they even are in Warzone. And as Slasher says, this is unacceptable, but not even surprising. So the frustrations continue. What do they even do about this at this point, right? I don't know if there's anything you can do. I mean, they've managed to take a game that was pretty bad already for competitive play, and some of the issues have got even worse. And I don't know if it's on their radar to fix, or if they even thought about multiplayer when they made these changes for Warzone. I don't know. But yeah, the pros obviously aren't happy, and you can certainly understand why. And it's not just the footsteps that have got worse and the weapon balancing that's maybe gone in the wrong direction on certain things, but also the game itself is practically unplayable. People can't seem to load into custom games. It won't work properly. They had to chalk off a couple of sets of scrims because they simply couldn't load in. Doug was having the same issues. Even as Clay says, I can't even launch the game. It says this game cannot be played when I hover over it. Sorry, you can't do your job today. So, yeah, the game just wouldn't work, or custom games wouldn't work, and there was just some shambles going on. And also wanted to share this clip real quick because the slide cancel is back, it seems, to a certain degree. And I've no idea how this fella managed to do this. But if Shotzzy manages to find out how to do exactly this, it's going to be comedy. So it looks like indeed they did remove the slide cancel, and there simply is no cancel anymore. You just slide it forever. So honestly, if Cellium or Shotzzy figures out how to do this, I don't understand how they managed to mess this up, but I'm pretty sure this was not a thing before the patch, and now it's a thing. Here we are in shootouts, and I mean, look, he's just going at light speed, to be honest, sliding on the floor. So what are you guys' perspective on this and all the changes that have been going down? Obviously, look, it's kind of expected that their focus is going to be on the Warzone side, but I was at least not, I wasn't expecting them to really improve anything in multiplayer for the time being, because I'm sure Infinity Ward's focus was going to be on Warzone. Like, I'm just amazed the fact that they managed to release Warzone and multiplayer just gets worse as a result. Maybe not surprising, but it's still remarkable. So yeah, what are the pros going to do about this? The dead silence thing as well is just such a frustrating point, because we talked about this from the beta into the real release, and now it's got even worse. Like, I just don't understand it. The pros are playing Warzone, right? Even as Dashy reckons Warzone is so mid, bro. So he doesn't even reckon that Warzone's particularly good regardless, which does raise some questions, right? Because if Warzone's not that good anyway this season, then, you know, what's Scump going to do when he retires? Is Warzone not going to really be it to play? Because I know that many people have had their concerns about Warzone when it was initially kind of talked about and rumored, and some of the changes that they made. Dashy doesn't like them. He's not really on board with that. He was playing with Scump and Former last night. They were giving it a go, and the opinions were certainly pretty mixed as well. So yeah, it seems like multiplayer's managed to get worse. Congratulations to Infinity Ward, and yeah, it's going to be a long few months, I'm sure. Hopefully the second year of this game, we might actually have a decent game to play, but it might be a long time until we get there. And even this, that TacticalRab Academy pointed out, right, the fact that basically Rocket League is in this game, but there is no ranked play until next year. So clearly the priorities are bang on the money. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.